My name is Erin Staff. I am originally from Erie, Pennsylvania. I grew up the youngest child of 7 children in my family. It was a little chaotic. You know, people use that phrase, I grew up in the church, and I really did. I mean, church services on Sunday, we started out at 10 and we didn't get home until after 2. I mean, we were not playing. It was a big part of my life growing up. My family prayed before every meal. My parents were very, very strong Christians. I had some trauma that happened when I was a teenager. I was about 15 years old, and there was some trauma that happened to me. And that was when I kind of started gearing away from church, and I was more interested in what they were doing. They, meaning the people that I saw that were partying and having fun and drinking, and they looked like they were just having such a good time, and I was stuck in my misery. I was keeping a secret. I told no one about what happened to the extent that it happened. Until I was 41 years old. It was something that I held inside. Ironically, my sister worked at the Women's Care Center, and I went through the worksheets and tried to determine, well, am I going to keep my child? Am I going to put my child up for adoption? And I decided to keep my son. No matter what I was doing, there was still this idea that someday I would get back with my relationship with the Lord and it would become a priority again, but I didn't know how to do it. It's like my life was like I was trying to steer a canoe. And it was just by myself, my self-will. Just like, oh, I can do this, I'm strong. I'm supposed to be strong enough that I can do this. I can outthink my lifestyle. I can outthink my sin and the way that I was living. And that kind of came to a crashing halt. And I thought to myself, God, I don't understand. I'm trying so hard to get closer to you. I don't know what's going on. I feel miserable. I feel lonely. I feel empty. I feel ashamed. I feel guilty. I'm carrying all this stuff that I put on myself. I created my own chaos. And then I'd smile, hi guys, hi, act like it was all good. And the reality of it is inside, I was like the walking dead. It was like trying to fill up this big, huge soul hole with all these other things that nothing else can fulfill. I remember my last night of drinking being December. It was actually December 15th, 2018. And I actually went somewhere where I was trying to get some help. And I left and was like, I think I can probably just have a couple drinks, I willpower it. I will willpower it. And so I had to test the water, and I don't remember a lot of the night. Waking up the next day, my kids had come home. They were gone for the night, and I promised them I'd take them somewhere. So they're getting their shoes on, their coats on. They're all excited. We're going. And I go to grab the keys, and I open the door, and my van, I have a swagger wagon, by the way. The swagger wagon wasn't out front. So I just remember turning to them and their look on their face. I've actually prayed, God, please don't ever let me forget the look on their face. Just the way their shoulders dropped, and they were like, again? And it was funny because they said again, and in my mind I was like, again? I don't understand. Why can't I just stop? Why do I keep doing this? It's like being on a rat race, and I'm so tired. I just want to get off this wheel, and I don't know how. He and I eventually started, after I did some of the things that I needed to do to be sober and had a solid foundation, eventually I started dating him. He came over to my house, and he walked in the door, and he was he was pacing around. I'm like, are you okay? You seem off. Something's going on here. And he's like, yeah. And then he said a couple things, and one of the most important things that sticks out the most to me was that he said, I strongly believe that God put us together to help other people. And he got on his knees and proposed and asked me to marry him. And I remember the first thing I said, well, at first I said yes. The second thing I said was, thank you, Jesus, for giving me the person that I prayed for. prayed for someone like my husband before I even met my husband. All along the lines, I kept saying to him, I'm like, I have this checklist, And then I realized that when I met my husband and that God had more than the list. I didn't know that God had more on the list than I planned for. That night we played hangman. He cooked dinner and we had a beautiful night. And I very specifically heard on the way home, I heard God say to me, no matter what you do when you go in the house, I want you to really, really hold on to your husband. Give him a big hug. Right before my husband went to bed, he says a prayer with our son, and it's this beautiful prayer that some of it's memorized, some of it's ad-libbed, but we do it together. And for that night, I didn't feel that well either, so the three of us fell asleep. Well, the next morning, my daughter came downstairs and said, Dad's just laying on the kitchen floor. One of the messages that I feel like I very clearly heard was that no matter what, you're not going to go back to that old lifestyle. I don't have to. I don't have to live like that anymore. I don't have to live empty. In the moment when I felt like the most broken and the most, I'm mourning. I'm sad. I miss my husband a lot. And yet I know there's something more. This year has been a very difficult year, I think, for a lot of people. I just posted something that said, we're all kind of going through something, just be kind. I lost my dad during COVID 2020, and one of the things that was this reoccurring theme that my dad was kind to people, just nice to people. We don't have any idea what other people are going through, what is going on in their story. I've heard a lot of people say, well, what I'm going through is nothing compared to what you're going through. No, we're all going through something. It depends on how we're responding to things. I can't take credit for the way that I'm responding to this. It's 100% wholly, completely because I gave it to God. Christmas is difficult. This necklace that I have on, my husband gave me here in Elevate on Christmas Eve of 2018. It was the first gift he ever gave me, and it was right before the service, right before the candlelit service started. He slid it over, and it was really smooth, and it worked. I married him. It's going to be rough because we're going to miss my husband. It's going to be rough because we're going to miss my dad. It's going to be rough because his family is going to miss him and his friends and people that loved my husband. But the reality of it is, we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. I sincerely believe that this story is not over, and that during this Christmas season, I have the opportunity to really lean into what Christmas is all about. It's not about the toys and the gifts, although those are important to kids. What this is really about for us this year is making memories and continuing to send the message that God put us on this earth to send, and that is that his son died for us. That he rose again, and that if we have him in our heart, that we still have hope. Life goes like that, passes like that. What are we going to do at the time that we have? And for me and my kids, we're going to enjoy it. We're going to enjoy it. We're going to celebrate who my husband was. We're going to celebrate family. We're going to celebrate each other. Because God's not done yet. He's not done yet. Not at all.